It doesn't get more treasonous than Cyril Ramaphosa, Jacob Zuma, Thabo Mbeki, and the ANC guys. They've handed this country to the globalists. They've destroyed South Africa, the ANC. Go ESCOM, no lights, taxing us out of our breath. It doesn't get more treasonous than that. Infrastructure destruction caused by the ANC, opening us up to the globalists, signing treaties with WTO without local content, killing our industries, textile, manufacturing.
Guys, so you guys know, disclaimer, these are not the views of Kwazemi. These are the views of an advocate of South Africa. I think he's legally trained in South Africa or probably somewhere else, but he practices in South Africa, Ike Khumalo, making these really powerful statements. And I really don't understand anyway the use of his terminology, globalists, but I think he's trying to position or contextualize the definition of what it means to be in treason or to be accused of treason to the leaders of the ANC. So if you remember in my last video, I showed a senior lecturer at the University of Pretoria who actually argued that to actually define treason, there has to be the intention to overthrow the government. All right, so whoever should be guilty of treasonous charges, especially as regarding the dockets that was opened for Afriforum and I think Solidarity because of their visit to the US and all of that, he argued that that shouldn't be a treasonous charge, so to speak. It shouldn't amount to a treasonous charge, but any treasonous charge has to have the intention of overthrowing the state in which the citizen, so to speak, has some form of allegiance. All right. Now, Ike Khumalo is turning this around, and remember, these are the words of an advocate. This is somebody who's trained in law. All right, and he's actually arguing that rather than blame Afriforum or probably Solidarity for or treasonous offenses, or even Rob Hershov, as MK Douglas actually alleged in his parliament address in response to the US, tensions with South Africa. Ike Khumalo is actually arguing that the leaders of the ANC, which we have known since since President Mbeki's regime, Ramaphosa and Zuma, should likely, so to speak, be the ones to blame for treason, because what he calls that they sold the nation, so to speak. I really don't know how this plays as well, but he argues that these guys sold the nation to the globalists. And for me, you see, that problematization of that term globalist is still somewhat, I'm still struggling to understand who can be defined as a globalist and what that whole terminology in itself really means. But anyway, this is your humble outsider Kwazemi trying to really understand South Africa's political economy from the outside, but also at the same time hoping that I can get some of you South Africans to think, because in the words of one of my favorite Christian apologists, Ravi Zacharias, he actually had a radio channel before he died that said, "Let my people think." So I'm hoping that I can get South Africans to think as I play this video by Ike Khumalo, where he's actually arguing that the presidents that have actually ruled under the guise of the ANC or under the regime of the ANC, the likes of Thabo Mbeki, President Cyril Ramaphosa, and President Zuma, should be the ones who should be blamed or accused for treasonous offenses. And I'll be back for some thoughts.
In here, they say the Hawks, they've opened a case, a treason against Afriforum. I will leave that for now. But for me, it doesn't get more treasonous than Cyril Ramaphosa, Jacob Zuma, Thabo Mbeki, and the ANC guys who've used our army to safeguard their interests, in DRC, CAR. We did not struggle for Patrice Motsepe, Mpisane, Sean, Tokyo Sekwale. We struggled to liberate this country for the benefit of all of us. They take our national army to safeguard dictators in African states like Abu Kabila, La CAR, and then in return they're given mineral rights. They've handed this country to the globalists. Globalists who subjected us under lockdowns, fake vaccines. It doesn't get more treasonous than that. infrastructure destruction caused by the ANC, opening us up to the globalists, signing treaties with WTO without local content, killing our industries, textile, manufacturing. It doesn't get more treasonous than that. Cyril Ramaphosa is treason personified. Treason personified, that Cyril Ramaphosa. It doesn't get more treasonous than the ANC. They have treated this country with disdain and its people. In a normal country, bekuyosuka phansi enye into mfethu 113. The ANC, they've opened up this country to foreigners, destroying borders. Abozuma basayina ama-ZEPs. Did we struggle for foreigners? Did we die for foreigners? Coming here to take and take and take. They're taking everything that we want. They even contribute to the infrastructure destruction, stealing coppers, taking our medications, housing, SASA grant. They've allowed foreigners to come in here. They've destroyed South Africa, the ANC. Go ESCOM, no lights, taxing us out of our breath. It doesn't get more treasonous than Cyril Ramaphosa, Jacob Zuma, Thabo Mbeki. They've treated South Africa as their private bank account. So for me, if there is treason, ANC stand accused. Like Cyril Ramaphosa said, ANC, it's accused number 1. State capture. Capturing our SOEs, all of them. So, and the Tina, we can't run, see somewhere. ANC, they've killed their own, more than SADF killed them. They've raped their own in exile. Nabo Thabo Mbeki, behlele London. Nabo Oliver Tambo, pretending to be fighting a war, but awuthumela umfana oyi-1 ashaye babone ukuthi asebenza ekhaya, and then go loot and scam donors. Scandinavia, but you see, umuntu wakhona bampimpa aboshwe so that the news blasted all over the media. They're sipping champagne, having sex with cheap white women, prostitutes. Cheap white women. So but we liberated you. We liberated them. We liberated them. These guys. That is treason. What they have done to South Africa.
Thoughts? Yeah, so you heard it for yourselves, guys. Ike Khumalo, I think he has chosen to be a really controversial personality now, coming full all out. I looked at his YouTube channel, and he usually had some of these comments. I think he was even taken to prison at some point for some, I don't know what's that case. I don't have full clarity on what that case was, but I think he was imprisoned or something like that for these kinds of incitement. I think that case was, so to speak, that he was charged for inciting violence or something regarding foreigners and all of that. But in this season, Ike Khumalo has come out full out as a voice of reason to really quantify what he thinks is, so to speak, the abuse of the ANC to multiple societies in South Africa, the black society, the white society, South Africa as a whole. He's actually not happy with the ANC. When I listen to his videos, I hear a man who is totally unhappy with the ANC, especially the promise of the ANC, especially the promise the black community had when a black government came into power, but the consistent abuse of that power. This is what I'm hearing from Ike Khumalo when I listen to his videos, and he's at a place where he's he's positioning himself where he was during the apartheid regime and positioning himself today and trying to really understand what really South Africa has gained within these 30 years of black government and under the leadership of the the almighty African National Congress at the time. Even in my country, Nigeria, it was actually argued, and many past presidents of Nigeria actually beat their chest, arguing that how they spent sometimes their own pocket money for school, or I think some guys even went as far as sending a portion of their school fees or something like that in contributions for the ANC and to support the fight against apartheid. So Ike Khumalo here is really wondering what that whole thing was all about, because he's really not able to hold on to a tangible positive transformation, if I use the words of Mbalula in my video yesterday, that the ANC has impacted on South Africa. And that's actually what I'm hearing when he speaks. He speaks about a kind of like a sad, reflectional, so to speak, series of thoughts comparing the times. And in this video here, for me, I actually think that his positioning of Mbeki in all of these debates, probably, I don't know if this is another Mbeki, but anyway, he seems not to be happy with Mbeki. And from most of your comments here, and probably some of the videos I follow for Thabo Mbeki, I think he actually has been an efficient statesman. I think under his presidency, South Africa recorded some really positive reviews and growth, but all of that started climbing down, I think, from the inception of the Gupta's, the alleged Gupta's relationship with Zuma's regime and then President Ramaphosa, which Mashele argues. If you listen to Prince Mashele clearly, he argues that President Zuma was the one who decimated the ANC, and President Ramaphosa is currently burying it. So these are Mashele's words, these are not my words, all right? But they force me to think of what Ike Khumalo speaks about when he says that these guys should be the ones who actually have sold the country, so to speak, to what he calls the globalists. And for me, I've always struggled with that term because, you know, as I'm a historian, we have a portion of history that's called global history, and we actually try to understand the world as a globe rather than a micro history. But when you speak about a globalist here, it's really difficult on how to position Thabo Mbeki, President Ramaphosa, President Zuma in that light and in that regard. But this is Ike Khumalo's standpoint, and he seems really convinced and vociferous about all of these thoughts. And for me, you know, at the inception of President John Mahama into Ghana, many of Ghanaians are really happy with him, although there's a lot of Ghanaians actually also who are not happy with him. But anyway, at the inauguration of the president, there was a prayer breakfast where there was this popular pastor, is an archbishop anyway, Duncan Williams. He actually spoke about some of the root causes of corruption, and he didn't argue that corruption was as a result of an abuse of a system and all that, but he argued that corruption is as a result of a lack of love the leaders have for the people and the nation. All right, so corruption is not all of these things we see where contracts are bloated, tenders are given. He argues that corruption results because the leaders do not love the people and the country. And so this is actually something that, you know, makes me think when I really wonder about how the ANC, I see many of your comments. In fact, when I go through my channel and I go through the comments, it's always the ANC, the ANC. I never knew about this, you know, growing up as an academic, you know, trying to really understand West Africa. I never really understood this perspective of the ANC. The ANC has been this kind of glorious you know, group that saved South Africa from the throes of oppression and apartheid and all that, but now coming into understand the governance aspect or the perspective of the ANC, especially from your comments here, which for me is really important ethnographic information. I don't think the review for the ANC is good from the perspective of the citizens. And so these are just a few thoughts anyway. I just wanted to really add to this Ike Khumalo's assertion that, you know, Afriforum really shouldn't be held as the culprits for any treasonous charges as regards the dockets that have been opened against them for treason, allegedly, but that the real treasonous perpetrators, so to speak, if I would use that word, are actually these former leaders of the ANC party, President Thabo Mbeki, President Cyril Ramaphosa, and President Zuma. It's still a struggle. I still struggle to really understand that whole logic. But these are Ike Khumalo's thoughts, and let's continue this debate. Let's have a robust discussion in the comments. What do you guys think about Ike Khumalo and this assertion here? Share your thoughts in the comments.